Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Katie. It's so great to see you again and so great to be here at another Inman Connect Now. I'm very excited to join you today.
I am really, really pumped to have you here. You're like one of my faves. I'm being honest. I mean, everybody else is my fave too, but we have a lot of fun on stage and I'm just really excited about Vegas. I'm excited about today. It's going to be great.
Yeah, this is going to be a great day. And we have, I know you have to go through, tell us about who's been sponsoring today and who's been, and we have to talk about the Vegas in October. And there's some big surprise because we've got something really good for people with regard to that Vegas trip.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So first of all, thank you to our sponsors. Let's go down the list. BoomTown, Coldwell Banker, Constellation One, Curbio, Fly Homes, Residential Real Estate Council, and Zillow. Also, I love the chat. I know you love the chat. I want you to go over to the chat and tell us where you're from, number one. So just go in there, put your name, start. It's great. Tell us where you're at. I want to see who's the furthest. I want to get all that info. Also, you know what? I'm doing this from home in Houston and my dogs are barking.
Oh my gosh.
That's life. So why don't you take it and tell us about Vegas? Then I'll come back and tell them about the workbook.
We've got, well, here's what's going on. We know that in October, Inman Connect is going to go live, like really live, like a live event in person where you're going to see people and you're going to fist bump and you're going to, I don't know, you're going to hug maybe, but hopefully by then we will have pushed this virus even further down. But we're going to go, man. Vegas, we're going to be wearing shoes and pants and like another one of our shirts, not the same shirt we wear every day for our Zoom calls. So I'm very excited about that. But here's what is even more exciting, Katie, as you take care of your dogs. Here's what's even more exciting, is that you have a chance to win a free ticket to go to Vegas for Inman Connect, which will have all that great content at the Aria Hotel. You'll be able to spend all that PPP money that you've been saving because you haven't been able to go out for a year, and you'll be able to spend it all at the craps table and the roulette and everything else, as well as going out and having fun and doing all the stuff that we used to do. So Inman Connect in Las Vegas in October, going to be fantastic. And you can win a free ticket at the end of today's general session, which is at 1 o'clock Eastern. All you have to do is put your name in the link in the chat. In the chat, there'll be a link for the giveaway. Put your name in there and you get a chance to win. And there'll be other chances to win, which we'll tell you about later, that you can get if you stick around through the breakout sessions that will come up after the general session today. Right, Katie?
Right. And I'll tell you what, if you've never made it to an event in person for Inman and you've just now kind of gathered in the community over the last year virtually, these are great. That's like this on steroids time. I mean, it's just so great to be able to, talk to people in the industry and the community, the best of the best. And I highly recommend you go. Again, like Joe said, we get to get the hell out of our houses.
I don't bring your dogs, Katie. Leave them behind. No dogs in Vegas. They don't enjoy it. But it really will be a great time. Inman Connect is always fantastic. In fact, the last time I was in Vegas was Inman Connect back in 2019, summer of 2019. So it's going to be fantastic. And on top of the fact that it's always fantastic, I think it's going to be one of the first live events we're all going to be able to go to. And so I hope people will go get their tickets now, but you might want to wait like 2 hours because you might get a free one. But you should try to get one by the end of the day. If you don't get the free ones, go buy one and get your plane tickets and get everything else going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of value there. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be fun, though, when we give it away. Kind of excited about that. Also, the workbook. If you're new to the virtual Connect Now, if you go over to the chat, they may have already dropped it in there, but there's going to be a link to a workbook where we can collaborate, talk. You can add your notes, your thoughts. It's really, really cool. Joe and I were talking yesterday that it's always very professional in the workbook. It's not like sharing a live doc to high schoolers. You all are real adults. So I appreciate that. So go in there, add notes, have some fun. Let's talk. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce always the man of the hour, along with some guests. Coming up, we have Guy Gal from Side, Michelle Kim with Mosaic Real Estate, and of course, our favorite, Brad Inman.
Greetings, everybody. It's really terrific to be back to Connect Now, and we have a great audience out there that I've seen. It's so exciting to see you all, and I'm super excited about our next panel, which is a group of, well, at least two success stories in real estate. One from the tech side, Guy Gal, who is the founder of Side. Hi, Guy. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, Brad.
Good. And we have Michelle Kim, who is the founder and owner of Mosaic, which is a real estate company. Correct, Michelle?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Where are you at? In San Francisco?
San Francisco.
Oh, great. How about you, Guy?
Same. Yeah.
Oh, that's super. Let's start with Guy. And we're going to try to focus, by the way, the topic here is new business models and new opportunities where realtors can hang their shingle that are quite different than the past. And some, I'm sure, will tell us that it's happened before and it's went on before. We always hear that from our readers. But we're really going to explore some of these new ways and new places that agents can go, taking kind of their success story to new brands where, in this case, they retain their brand. But we'll get into those details. But before we get started, let me open with Guy. Guy, you just raised some extraordinary amount of money and an evaluation that I didn't have to read about. I went into your LinkedIn this morning and I noticed you have a sneaky little emoji next to your name, which is a unicorn emoji. Is that correct?
It is. It helps with hiring. Everyone loves a cute unicorn emoji.
And is that unicorn about my granddaughter's unicorn dolls, or is that about something else?
It's the proverbial unicorn status when a new company, a startup, crosses $1 billion in valuation, which we recently did just 4.5 years into our existence as a company.
Congrats. Now, this raises a question I have to ask you because I ask it of all leaders, so you're not exempt. And it's something that I've experienced, and I'll even say I suffered from. When you have such a success story, when you've reached billions, how do you control your ego and not suffer from hubris, which I always say kills the most and greatest success stories? How do you, Guy Gal, try to control your enthusiasm about your success? That must be tough, right?
You know, I haven't struggled with that just yet, or at least that's my own perspective. Others may disagree, but I think what's critical is staying true to the mission. Right? We have always worked to advance the interests of top producing real estate agents. We see them as a client to Side. They are who it is that we work for, and as long as they remain the sun in the center of our universe, we will continue to maintain that discipline.
There you go. And you look very humble in that hat and with your background. So we can tell you're a regular guy. Let's jump into this. And Michelle, I'm going to ask you to explain Guy's business for him. And the reason I'm going to do that is we often get our audience telling us, oh, it's great you have all these tech heads up there talking about these new things, but why don't you have agents, brokers, managers, people on the street in the trenches explaining these things? So Michelle, you went from a small boutique real estate company in San Francisco, and you started your own company, which I understand is called Mosaic. Great name.
Yes.
And then you aligned yourself with Guy. Give us some of that background. Why do you align yourself with Better Homes and Gardens or KW or EXP or other brands? Why with Guy Gal at Side?
Well, that's an excellent question, Brad. I mean, I have to say that I consider myself partnering with Side because, Side, the company itself, is white label by design. And what they do is they take top producing agents like myself and empower us in branding our own company, allowing us to thrive and having the technology, having the marketing, the back office support. They analyze your portfolio and they allow you to take your business to the next level. Their motto is, we work for you, you don't work for us. And they truly mean it. So it's something different from a typical brokerage. Yeah.
Give us just give us the scale and size of your business. You're in a hot market, an expensive market, but more, are you a solo practitioner or are you with a team or what is it?
So I have a team of now 10 associates, And we are currently at 116 million year to date. So very strong year.
Congratulations. And quickly on this market, supply constraints, same story we hear all over the country, or is San Francisco freeing up a little on the supply side?
That's a really good question. Last year when we had the pandemic hit, we had, I guess at that time, everything was put on pause, right? There were no more open houses. And, it was really interesting because San Francisco as a whole, we typically have about 2 months supply of inventory. And when the entire city was shut down, I think everything just slowly started to increase in terms of inventory. We ended up with a lot of condo market inventory, actually. And then at the end of last year, when the feds dropped the rates, people started buying up properties. This year with vaccinations rolling out, I think that we're feeling like it's somewhat of a rebirth and people are feeling really good. We're finally headed in the right direction. And so therefore properties are being bought left and right. And now we're lacking in inventory again. So yes, you're right. We are lacking in supply right now.
And Michelle, when you looked around, what about the power of these national brands? And I don't want to say it was overconfident on your part, but that you might think your brand Mosaic could outshine, Coldwell Banker, a 100-year-old brand that started in San Francisco, or KW, or how do you think about your brand versus the lift you get from their brands for your franchise fee or your association with those companies?
Good question, Brad. Wow, you're really throwing these good questions at me, aren't you? I have to say that, the support from side in terms of the technology, which allows us to have more efficiency and more time back. So therefore, we're capable of spending more time with our clients. I think there's something to be said for the level of service that we're able to provide for them. And we wouldn't have that without the efficiency and also the support from the staff at side.
Good stuff. Guy, let's turn to you. When you started, and when did you start the company? And when you started it, what did you see out there what were the externalities, the events that were going on that you put together a vision that was pretty different than everybody else? What was it you saw, like in the world of people like Michelle, or the housing market, or the changes in the industry?
We started the company about 4.5 years ago, and we spent a lot of time with agents like Michelle. Michelle was our very first partner ever, sort of understanding why the industry worked the way that it did. And what we came to realize was that there was a segment of agent that's unlike the others. And that's a top producing, full-time, dedicated professional that creates a lot of value in the transaction for the consumer in a way that does not have the consumer questioning commission rates. In fact, they are so happy with the quality of service that they want to pay more, not less, because it's such a smooth and wonderful experience and outcome. But brokerages that existed at the time, the traditional brokerages, were never designed to serve into the needs of a top producer. That was a recent phenomenon that was just emerging in market in a really proliferated and profound way. And we felt that that type of agent needed a very different product, a very different partnership, and a very different solution to address their needs and their problems. When we met Michelle was a perennial $20 million producer. That was 4 years ago. Last year, Michelle closed, what was the number?
Last year it was roughly 100 million. Yeah.
Okay. And then this year, you've already crossed that threshold.
Yes.
And so the idea became, let's actually unbundle real estate. Instead of having a future where there are 6 national brokerage brands under which 2 million agents are subservient, let's create thousands of locally focused boutique brands that consumers prefer working with versus a one-size-fits-all conglomerate or corporate that are agent-owned and that are best at serving into that community.
Gotcha. Let me ask you a question, Guy, related to that. What's the analogy that, it's always helps me when I write. What's an analogy outside of real estate that you like to compare yourself to?
We reference ourselves to Shopify, if you know that platform.
Yeah.
As an invisible brokerage. So we're on the back end. We power today hundreds of brands, but the consumer doesn't know we exist, even though we are the broker of record. Similarly, there are hundreds of thousands of online stores that are powered by Shopify that nobody would know exists because Shopify is in the background.
They don't know about Shopify. Now, let me just go through the services and then let's compare these, because I think if I had Ryan Snyder here or Gary Keller on with you, they would say, hey, we provide all that. We provide back-end support, we provide marketing, we provide technology, we provide everything that Guy Gal does. What is it? And Michelle, feel free to weigh in as well. If you said, hey, Guy, I'm tired of you, I don't like your hat, I'm going to go over to
like your
Remax. And then you had that list of stuff that you're getting from Guy. Wouldn't most of them give it to you? But what is it? First of all, let's just go through the list really quick. Not a lot of adjectives, you guys. Just what are the services? Can I get HR for those 10 associates if I had an operation like Michelle? Yes or no, Guy?
Yeah, of course. But maybe I'll just frame it a little bit more simplistically, which is I think there's three distinct things. One, it's invisible and white label. Nothing like that exists. With any other brokerage, you have to co-brand and affiliate their brand to your own, which does take away from your ability to differentiate and stand apart. Two, we're top producers only. Average partner that we work with does 45 million in volume a year. It's by far the highest average in the industry. So it makes for a wonderful community of peers that collaborate and share best practices. I think that's a super distinct thing. And the third thing is that we actually are full implementation. We're very hands-on. We're like, okay, here's where you currently are in your business. Where do you want to go? Let's go there together. Let's make a plan. Let's execute against the plan. Let's put technology in place. Let's put support in place. Let's get there.
So it's a coaching, an element of coaching. That sounds like a little bit of Tom Ferry in there as well. Is that right?
It's less coaching and it's more business management. We don't get into the psychological management of what it is to run a team or how to be a good leader. It's more about here's where your business is, here's its opportunities, here's where it could go. Let's get there. Let's go there.
Gotcha. Michelle, what about you? Tell us what's on your list? What are the number one features that Guy offers you that you couldn't get from traditional franchises?
I would have to say the number one feature is that I am the owner of my own company. So, I mean, this company, which is powered by Side, but at the same time, I own Mosaic Real Estate. And there's something to be said for that. If I was to hang my license at Coldwell Banker, Remax, or any other large brokerage, I would still be branding Remax and Coldwell Banker. So I do feel like there's something to be said for that. That is the number one differential. Number two, their model really, truly, they mean it, that they work for us. They're constantly checking in on us. Our business managers we have weekly meetings with them, and they want to make sure that we're on our trajectory to get to our goals. And they do analyze your portfolio. They'll tell you what you're lacking in, and they'll help guide you and make sure that you get to that level that you want to get to. So there's something to be said for that kind of support. I think when you're at a regular, typical brokerage, you're a dime a dozen. And being powered by a company like Side, I feel like they truly do, support you. And that's something that I didn't feel like I had before. So, and I have nothing bad to say about my previous brokerages that I've been with. I mean, they were excellent companies, but I needed more. And I didn't really know what I needed until I met Guy. Isn't that so interesting? And when we talked about it, the model, the platform, I thought it was impossible. But now I come to see that it was the best decision I ever made. Yeah, I'm grateful.
I was talking. Do you, Michelle, know Ben Kenny? He's been a long time team leader, technologist. He's a Renaissance guy like Guy, and he's done all kinds of interesting things. And he's got a new business. I think it's called The Place. And he was talking about all these alternatives for agents now. And he was saying they've exploded. And so agents just have all of these opportunities. Now, in his case, he provides leads. I'd love to hear about that. You're not getting leads from Side. And how do you think about that? I guess, could you or would you be getting those from Coldwell Banker? I don't know, probably not, or EXP or the rest of them. But is it true there's just a lot of choices for agents now that they've never had before? Is that the environment out there? Meaning this is for all agents, open your eyes, look up, because there's opportunities to go places that you could never imagine a few years ago.
Right. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of movement in the real estate industry, as you know. A lot of movement. And I think that as an independent agent, when you're starting off as a brand new agent, it makes sense to go to a larger brokerage because they have the new agent training. But when you're a top producer, you need that support. But there really is no means of that support anywhere. So I think that that differentiates what side has brought to the table for top producing teams. Yeah.
You know, I know a lot of top producers around the country, and we do this luxury connect, but also I just know a lot of them, and all they want to do is fly on their own. I mean, they're so capable. They own their own world, and they just want to be able to do what they do unconstrained. Guy, let me ask you, you're in just 3 states with $1 billion valuation. That's hard for me to get my head around. Do I have it right? You're in 3 states?
Mm-hmm.
And you have 250 top producers?
It's over 300 now. We establish 30 to 40 new partnerships every month.
And I presume the challenge you have is scaling. I mean, you must have an incredible sales force to get to the people like Michelle. Like, how do you go to, Dolly Lens in New York City and say, Dolly, come with side? I mean, that must be, scaling your business must be your biggest challenge. Am I wrong, or am I seeing it? Is there a different way to look at it?
I would actually say our biggest challenge is continuously improving how we serve into the exacting needs and standards of our agent partners. The really big, amazing producers come to us. They come inbound. They hear about us and like, hey, I've always wanted to start my own company. I just never wanted to run my own brokerage. And if you all can operate the brokerage and I can own this business and have my own distinct brand, let's do that. So now it's incumbent on us to get to a place like New York faster so we can actually serve into those folks who have reached out and want to do that with us. And we'll be there by next year, by the end of this year.
And is that just a technical issue of becoming the broker of record like Zillow and everybody else? You have to get your license in those states so that if you decide to deliver on Florida, you got to have all those pieces in place, or is it more to the geography than that?
It's 3 things. One, it's what you mentioned. The second thing is we need to hire folks locally that can support locally. And the third thing is we need to localize our product, our software. Our platform handles the conveyance process, transaction end to end, and all those documents and all of those rules and all that logic has to be localized on a per city and per county basis, which is non-trivial amount of work to do. Yeah.
Interesting. So that would be a challenge for any of the big brands, right?
For sure. They're Titanics as opposed to speedboats, so it's much harder to, move around. But that's our DNA. It's what we've always tackled. We've become really good at it, but it is complex. It is challenging.
Like Glenn at EXP would say, and that's partially because he's got an ongoing kind of squabble with his old boss, Gary Keller, but he always says that, more or less says, I'm paraphrasing, KW is poaching ground for EXP. Where are you poaching from?
Everyone. About 20% of our partners come from Compass, for example. 20% come from Keller. We've never had a partner leave to go to Compass ever. About 25% of our partners are actual indies, independent brokerages who want to stay indie, like Barb & Co. here in San Francisco, or Amalfi Estates in Pacific Palisades, or Bayside Strokey Properties in Manhattan Beach. These are folks who want the sophistication of what site has to offer. They don't want to run the back office, but they still want to own the business and compete as an independent boutique. So that's no one is safe. We don't poach. We
no one is safe from the claws of Guy Gal.
Oh, no one.
I like that.
Let me say that differently. No one is safe from, we're now at a point in the world where there is no more room for mediocre. You're either discount cheap, you charge nothing and provide nothing, or you're super premium and you actually create a great deal of value for the people you're working with. And that marketing messaging, gimmicks are not enough to stop that tide, that what I call product value, real tangible product value.
I got it.
Yeah.
Great point. Michelle, how do you pay for all this? He's got a laundry list. He's got collaboration and back end and transaction management and HR, and that's like 12 companies. You must pay him a fortune.
I don't know if we're supposed to be talking about our split structure. Are we, Guy? Are we talking?
You can talk about it. It's fine.
So as a top producing agent, you're capped at $50,000 a year. And so you're at a 90% split and you pay $50,000 to side per year. And after that, it's all yours. But Of course, the associates are not capped. It's just the team lead. With that said, we feel that this kind of support that I get, if you think about it, would exceed 50,000 a year at any other company. We don't have any added like admin fees, like some sort of desk fee or any, print fee. All of that a la carte is not part of it. We just have a flat rate and that's what we do. And with that said, it blows my mind when I think about how much growth I've had coming from 22.8 million. Correction, guy, it wasn't 20, it was 22.8, my best year. Being at a small boutique brokerage. But I was just me, myself, and I. And then afterwards, I brought on one associate when I partnered with Side. And the first year we did 46 million, the two of us.
That's great. I always say at the top end of Connect, the live events, I always say, who came here on their own personal credit card? And the people that usually raise their hand are the individual realtor who aren't getting a corporate credit card, and the entrepreneurs like Guy Gal, who started their company probably on a credit card. And, I love how, when I have two of you together, how much you all are alike and how you think about the world, starting something from nothing, which is why I'm honored to be able to interview both of you today. Now, we're running out of time, and I just noticed the UPS truck came up through my lane, and he's going to start knocking on my door any second. So that's a good signal that we're running out of time. But let's just ponder one last question. Michelle, how optimistic are you about the future of being a realtor in this era of disruption? Let's just tackle that big monster of a question.
How optimistic am I? I have to say that given where we are right now at 116 million year to date, and we're not even halfway through 2021, I feel like, it will be an epic year for sure. But with the amount of growth I've had year after year, I'm very optimistic. Mosaic has grown quite a bit, and we are now getting to be a brand in San Francisco where we're able to service the clients in the best way possible. And and I think that when you said we talk so much alike, it's probably because Guy is a visionary, and I consider myself a visionary as well. And we have a special bond in that way. And maybe that's why it seems like we're aligned. But I think.
Hold on, UPS is here.
Yes, it's here.
Love it.
Hey, UPS.
Brad is gone. Let's fully take it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The reality of today's world.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Guy, let me ask you a question to kind of wrap it up. And Michelle, by the way, I think you said you were a little nervous when you started this. You were so articulate and so convincing. And if I was going to buy a house in San Francisco, you would be on my top list to interview. You were really spectacular today. So thank you.
Brad,
Guy, any last words?
To your last question, I would just say consumer preference is such that they want to work with somebody who's a fiduciary and experienced and knows what they're doing and will walk them through a transaction. The tech companies need top performing agents more than the top performing agents in the tech companies. And the enduring American entrepreneurial spirit will always be something that sets those agents apart and makes sure that they're the most competitive in market.
That's fantastic. And you're a Canadian too, right?
I am, but almost an American.
Yeah, well, that's great. I kind of feel the Canadian vibe coming through, which I always have so much respect for. Hey, you two were fantastic. I really appreciate your time. As I say many times from this stage, I'm a big admirer of success, and I'm particularly an admirer of success. There's two ways to either inherit success or privilege, or you earn it. You two have earned it. And so congratulations on your success. And we at Inman News will keep following you and keep up the good work. You both answered my questions so well, and I know our audience is really grateful. Now back to the moderators of Inman Connect Now.
Welcome back, everybody. Joe, what do you think about that?
It was a great interview, but I think the highlight of the moment was the interview in terms of what people will remember for years is Brad getting interrupted during an interview with Guy Gal from Side because the UPS guy showed up. I don't even. Do you answer when the UPS guy comes? What is he? You must be getting like wine or something that has to be signed for,
You know
because
what?
I
It's
don't.
funny. At my house, my husband's really fabulous. He's sitting across from me. Hey, but he puts a sign out at our mailbox that basically warns if anyone comes close to my door, they will like die. So yeah, I don't get bothered much. But I think out of all of us, Brad's the one who gets to leave the interview and open the door. So.
Brad and Brad can get irritated by that stuff. He famously got annoyed, I remember last summer, by a Roomba. He had a Roomba and he hated it so much he threw it in the pool. Do you remember that? I saw pictures of his
No,
Roomba, yeah, not functioning all that well. It doesn't work in the pool, Katie. It doesn't function really well at all.
that's
Really for
vacuum the bottom. That would kill two birds with one stone if you had a
Wouldn't that be amazing if they discovered that, in fact, the Roomba does the job of the underwater vacuum as well? Boy, there's nothing it can't do. But no, I think it pretty much shorted out and was useless. But I think Brad felt he had vented his irritation at it adequately. That was really interesting. I find Side so interesting because it's really the counterpoint to Compass, because Compass has built in the span of about the same period of time, has built a kind of a very loaded brand. Compass means something, and it's very, very tough to build a brand that has meaning that quickly. And they've gone that direction where everybody works, if there's some aspiration for the Compass brand, and that's how they attract agents. But Side's doing the exact opposite thing, which is its brand to the consumer is invisible, but it's allowing the individual agent's brand or broker's brand to take this top spot.
Yeah, I appreciate Guy in that you hear a lot of CEOs and they kind of skirt around the question of recruiting and who are they going after, but he straight said no one is safe. So that's really fun, and I would love to. I would love to hear more in the chat if you work for Side, if you're happy, if you don't, whatever. You know what? You know what's fun about, we want to debate in the chat. It's fun.
Yeah,
More.
Go debate in the chat. I mean, that's what I'll weigh in if people want to comment on what's going on. I've been watching it to see if there's anything that I might comment on. But I think you're right. I mean, the point is that Side, Compass, Keller, EXP, Realogy brands, independents, everybody's got a brand proposition, and the brand propositions work for different people. And I thought it was interesting that he said Side is pulled from both Keller Williams and Compass, which are two very different types of operations, but they're pulling agents from either one.
Yeah, I agree. And I bet the people in the background right now are like, hey, Katie and Joe, shut up, please. But I'm going to keep talking real quick because I found something else interesting. They very rarely does anyone talk about, commission structures. So that was nice to, for them to be open about that. But also quick thoughts, and then we can go. But he said there are two different types of brokerages: discount and cheap now, like cheapy cheap, or massive insane value. And I don't think we're quite there yet, but I guess the people right here in the middle need to watch out. Because again, no one is safe, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, no one is safe on any of these things, but you're right. I mean, I don't think we're there yet. I think that that's certainly where the industry is pointing toward the idea that you're going to provide massive value, either as a broker to your agents or as a broker agent to the consumer, and you're going to command the premium prices, or you're going to go very slim down. So, higher splits to the agent, lower company dollar, but lower services or more standardized services. And to the consumer, more of a discount brokerage feel. And I think that's, listen, again, there's room in the industry for different types of business models. That's what I've always said. And there's a lot of, and not everybody wants the same thing. There's lots of people that they just want a different experience. And I think what's interesting is I think Side has found a niche that didn't really exist before, which was very clever.
Well, I love the conversation. I think they did a great job. Brad was fab as always. And speaking about disruptors and broker disruptors, let's talk a little bit about financial disruptors. Joe, what do we have coming up?
Right now, we have Clelia Peters from New York, and who's an editor with Inman, who's been doing a series of interviews, of moderated interviews. She did one last month at Connect Now, and she's doing it next month at the 2-day event that we're doing in June. So this is part one. This is part one.
Yeah, I
No,
believe
she introduced series. It's it says part one, but I think it's part two. She did one last month, and she's doing one next month as well. But she's brilliant, and she does great interviews, and she's going to be talking to two people who I think have really good perspectives about disruption in finance. So we should get that going.
This is BoomTown, the only real estate solution that generates, qualifies, and manages leads that convert to closings for you. That means we handle the promotion, the expert digital marketing, the lead generation, and capture for you. When all of this is handled for you, you get your time back, you get your life back, you get your control of your growth and business back. No more going it alone, no more overwhelm, no opportunity escapes. BoomTown, real estate success the easy way.
Hi, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here today to continue our discussion about transaction financing disruption in the residential space. So some of you will have joined us for the discussion we had last month, where we sort of laid out the three different categories of disruption that are happening around financing. And today we're going to talk specifically about the first category, which I'm calling transaction facilitation. For those of you who didn't get to see that discussion, the deck that we used to discuss last month is available in the chat if you're watching this live, or it should be available on the replay page if you're watching it in a replay with us. So I'm really excited to have Shaival Shah, who is the CEO and founder, right? Am I getting those titles right? Of Ribbon. And Tim Heil, who is same titles, right? CEO and founder of Homeward. Shaival and Tim have been two of the leaders in this space. So I'm really delighted to have them talk to us both about kind of how these tools were born and how they can be practically used by agents today. So Shaival and Tim, welcome. And maybe I can ask you both to start with just talking about where this idea came from for you and what was the need that you saw in the market that motivated you to create the products that you've created. And Shaival, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. So thanks for having me. Tim, it's great to see you. So my family background comes out of real estate, and we took for us, for me in particular, it's always been about home ownership and the home ownership journey and the home ownership story. And that was a problem that my family had growing up. And so through that process, my father was in real estate, and we built a small real estate business in California. And then kind of fast forwarding through my career through technology and finance, had always wanted to start a business that really solved the homeownership problem at scale. And what we saw back in 2017 was everyday consumers were losing consistently to corporate buyers, to investors, to iBuyers. And we wanted to create a new product, new offering that would help not only the consumer, but the entire ecosystem support that journey. And so, internally we had the saying, which is if consumers lose, agents lose. Because they're ultimately very, very connected communities. And so we built a product, a home buying platform that's really trying to digitize the home ownership journey altogether to be able to enable agents to be able to deliver all cash products to consumers to make consumers more competitive in the market, first-time home buyers and existing homeowners.
Yeah. Tim, it's interesting. You came at it from a different direction, but sort of arrived at a similar place.
Yeah. Yeah, family from real estate as well. And Shaival, I didn't know that about you and about your background. That's really cool. I graduated from college in 2009 in the middle of the financial meltdown and couldn't get a job and found myself in real estate against my parents' best wishes. But I spent basically the next 12 years of my career as an agent in Austin selling houses. I built a real estate team And, I learned that what every real estate agent learns is that you're really in the business of two things when you become a real estate agent. You're in the business of real estate and you're in the business of lead generation. And if you don't get the lead generation part right, it becomes very difficult to practice real estate. And so I determined I was going to be an expert at figuring out how to go out and get business from an early age. And that is really what I specialized in for many, many years. But the way I went about doing it was, I pounded the phones. I worked my tail off. I worked, 1,000,000 hours a week for many, many years. And I was working hard, but I felt like there has to be a more scalable way to have, rather than me going out and trying to find customers, how do I get them to come and find me? And it's very hard when, in Austin, there were 15,000 real estate agents. In any given major city, there's, 10 plus thousand. And, you're kind of all offering somewhat of the same thing. And, I determined after a while, rather than trying to find a new path, a new, channel to go after customers, that maybe the thing that I needed to do was to change the message. And what I learned by testing new messages, that if you could uniquely solve a problem for consumers that they had that nobody else was really solving for them, you immediately started getting the inbounds, right? Because the word started to spread like wildfire. And I started doing this for my own real estate team, using Open Door and Zillow, and basically saying like, hey, we can have, if you don't want to list your house, we'll help you figure out how to do it without listing your house. And, I started looking at all of the unique ways that all the unique tools that consumers had at their disposal but didn't know about, and said, we're going to be the deliverer of those things. And ultimately, I realized that there are some solutions that are much more valuable than others. And how do we go scale this up? So I started homeward thinking, I'm going to go build this for my own real estate team so that we can go off to the next level. But I learned along the way that, number one, this is a very big financial challenge, as Shavel has and I have both learned. This is something that you need to be very dedicated to go raise tons of capital in. And number two, I realized that there's I can either build a brand that's going to try and compete with the industry, or I can go partner with real estate agents and teams and brokerages and figure out how to grow together. And what really bugged me as an agent for so long is that I kept hearing, whether I go to Inman or I'd read a new headline and it's like agents were always the problem. It's like this new tech disruptor who's going to solve the problem and remove agents from the process. And it frustrated me. And I felt like agents are not the problem. The process is the problem. The process is archaic. Let's attack the process and let's go do it together with agents. And I think, Shavel and I both have this view of how to partner with the industry and go help, deliver these new solutions in partnership with real estate agents.
Yeah, I think I just want to call that out, because for our audience, there's sort of a distinction between what Ribbon and Homeward are doing and what some other players like Orchard or Fly Homes are doing, where they may have products like this, but they're embedded in a proprietary platform. So they're sort of using these products as a way to bring consumers into their proprietary process. Whereas you guys are basically like the artillery coming to arm the agents, no matter what, who they're affiliated with. And I think that's an interesting distinction too. So one thing I want to be sure we do in this discussion is actually talk kind of nuts and bolts about how an agent engages with a tool like yours. So can we talk through the whole process? Let's start from the very beginning. For you, in your opinions, is the best way for an agent to think about using tools like Ribbon and Homeward that they actually would establish a relationship with you guys long before they were even engaging in a transaction? Or are you more heavy artillery that you bring in when something is going wrong?
I'll just make a quick comment and then pass it over. There's the way I would like for it to be, and there's the reality of the situation for us. The way that I would like for it to be is that agents watch this webinar and go, oh my gosh, I'm going to go build my business around this model and go make this my message and go get trained and certified and learn everything there is to know so I can go nail the presentation and get my clients approved way before they find a house and all of those things. But the truth of the matter is most agents try us out for the first time when they're in a bind. And, they have this seller who isn't going to list their house because they're in this like chicken or the egg, problem, and, or where they have to, sell before they can buy, or they have this buyer that's like continuously losing over and over and over again. They're in one of these problems and they hear about us because they're complaining about their problem to their friends. And then they come in, and quite oftentimes they're like, they need to get an offer in like in the next 2 hours, or they don't fully understand how to present it. So they're trying to get their client on the phone with us and trying to like finagle, and which is totally fine, by the way. And that happens all the time. So that's kind of the default of what ends up happening. And then these agents on the other side of the transaction, now they've like really learned it because they've been through it, and they go, oh, now I understand how to present it. Now I understand why I need to get my client in here when I meet them, not when they find the house, and so it's usually that second transaction where they start being a little bit more prepared. But we're trying to figure out how can we do a better job of helping prepare on the front end. That's like where a lot of our focus is internally today.
Yeah, no, Tim, I fully agree. I think really we have to meet, for us, we always have the same, which is you have to meet the agent where they are. And the truth is that it's usually, as Tim said, it's in a bind to start with. And we're delivering brand new products to the market. These are very innovative new products to the market, and education is really, really important. And it takes time to educate on new products. And so really the key is there's really 3 different places that are 3 different entry points in how an agent can really engage with Homeward or Ribbon. One is really top of the funnel. I am looking to win a new client. I'm about to go into a listing presentation. I'm about to sit down with a buyer for the first time, and I want to go there with a range of solutions. Why? Because I'm the center of the transaction. I am the aggregator of all information. So what are the different tools in my toolkit? The second is I already have a client. I'm about to make an offer, and Best and Final has just come in. Best and Final is tomorrow at 5 p.m. I need everything done really, really quickly. And so speed matters. And then the third part is I'm actually already under contract, and everything seemed like it was going really smoothly. And then for one of many different reasons, the transaction is about to fall apart. I need help immediately. And so, usually the entry point is in the middle bucket. It's right where I'm about to make an offer. The seller has told me the cash offers are on the table. My buyer's coming in with an FHA or a VA or a low-level conventional, and there's just no chance that they're going to be a win. I need help now. And so where we spend a lot of time helping educate the entire community is how do we help you educate your client? And then once they do the first transaction or the second transaction, they start to slowly migrate where this now becomes a part of their presentation layer. And then from there becomes a larger portion of their book of business.
Yeah. And just to, be really explicit, effectively Homeward and Ribbon, with some differences, but fundamentally are offering similar products. One is on the buy side, which is allowing buyers to become cash buyers, or appear to be cash buyers, basically bridging the period during which they would be like waiting on financing contingencies. And the second is allowing sellers to buy before they've sold their home. And you guys provide those financing tools, and you make it very easy for consumers to access those financing tools. So I think what's really interesting to the point is that, Tim, even in your story about why you founded Homeward, like there is an opportunity to sort of facilitate transactions, but there's also a really interesting opportunity here to expand the pool of buyers or sellers who you might be able to work with from a more limited pool. And I think that for many agents is where the biggest opportunity lies, and maybe where they're like not thinking enough about leveraging these tools.
Yeah. And I think that, for real estate agents, I tell, a lot of agents that I coach and have worked with in the past, you've got to be in tune with the problem that consumers have. So the sort of opportunity for the best agents out there today, I believe, is to be have superpowers, multiple superpowers. But in order to deliver them well, you have to be super in tune with all the major problems that you already know they're going to fall into. And when they fall into it, you've got to know that problem better than they know it. And you've got to know what the potential solutions are for it. And that is where, the opportunity to go out and get more business comes from, when the agent is super in tune with that problem. And yeah, at the end of the day, you know, Homeward and Ribbon, we have tons of capital, and we use that capital to go secure houses so that while the financing is getting worked on, or the home sale is getting worked on, or whatever it is that needs to happen is getting done, can get done after the home's already been secured. So it's, you know, there's like one solution, but lots of different problem segments that these customers find themselves in. And the art for a real estate agent is in knowing how to speak to those problem segments. And that's where we've got to get better together as an industry. Shavel and I were just talking about this before the call, is that, you know, the challenge that we've had is like, how do we help empower agents to be able to cleanly articulate this so well? But it's like, we want to partner with the industry to work on this problem together. We've all got to get in tune with, you know, the different types of problems that exist, and how to just very cleanly and concisely articulate how the industry can now help them.
Yeah, you know, it's you can I think distill a lot of these problems in the, you know, as you think about the facility and the transaction, you could distill it down into really one thing, which is, how do you guarantee the closing? Ultimately, it comes down to seller certainty. It's why the iBuyers, when they kind of came to the market, there was such an intrigue in the market, because they were trying to provide certainty to the seller. And so if fundamentally if I'm an agent today, how do I help explain this to my seller? How do I explain this to my buyer? Which is really what needs to happen, is providing certainty to the seller. That seller is also looking to move on and buy their new home. And they can only do that if they can unlock the equity of their current home today to get their mortgage on the new home. So ultimately, it's about providing seller certainty. And the mechanics of how we all do this is all the same, depending on who the buyer is on the other side, a first-time home buyer or an existing homeowner. And it takes different routes. And so, you know, a first-time home buyer, the problem that the first-time home buyer is having is that they're coming in with a mortgage and they're not competitive. So how do I upgrade them into a cash offer, make them more competitive, provide to the seller the idea that no matter what's going to happen with their mortgage, this home is going to close on the stated closing date at the stated terms that were pre-negotiated, and nothing's going to change from that. If I'm an existing homeowner, the opportunity is, how do I remove my home sale contingency? You know, pretty much if you put a home sale contingency in an offer today anywhere in the country, it's just not going to be accepted because of the additional fear that you won't sell your home in time. And so we remove those contingencies. We guarantee the closing, which then allows the two sides to transact smoothly. And so I think what Tim and I are effectively trying to do to help empower the realtor community is we're turning every single consumer into effectively an iBuyer.
Yeah, it's a really interesting way to think about it, Shavel. And tell me a little bit, I mean, we're in a particularly hot market right now, right? So what are you seeing that's going on in the market right now? Like, do you feel like the need for this is greater than ever before? What do you think is going to happen over time with these kind of tools?
Yeah. Well, let's look at like the different problem segments. So I'll touch on one, and then Shavel, maybe you touch on the other one. The existing homeowner who is, you know, wanting to upgrade or downgrade or whatever it is that they're wanting to do, the need is at an all-time high because they know that they're going to sell their house in, you know, a day in most markets. In Austin, they'll sell their house with like 77 offers before they put it on the market. But like they know that's not an issue. The issue is them signing an agreement, being willing to actually leave their house in 30 days, knowing how difficult it is to go find one that they like, and B, that they can actually win and lock down. And so this idea of selling before you buy is like, nobody wants to do that in today's market. But I look back 12 years ago when I was 21 years old in 2009, it was the height. There were 10 times more homes on the market in my city where I'm from, in Austin, than there are today, right? So it was a completely different market dynamic. And yet, even back then, nobody wanted to accept contingent offers because it was like, look, my home's been on the market for 6 months and I haven't gotten any offers. Why am I going to accept your offer, take my house off the market? Who knows how long your house is going to take to sell? I'd rather just leave mine on the market, available for someone to sell it. So this sort of like chicken or the egg problem exists in all markets, seller's market, buyer's market. It happens to be at an all-time high today because it's just, there is no inventory, and it is just very, very daunting to think I'm going to sell my house and be homeless. So that's one problem segment, and it is at an all-time high. But Shayla, you can comment on maybe some of the other ones.
Yeah, no, it's, we're seeing the same thing. It's, it comes down to the basic rules of economics, which is there's no housing supply in the market. Pre-pandemic, and the markets that we are serving, you'd see about 2.5 to 3 months of supply in the market. Now we're seeing 2 to 3 weeks of supply. And so then there's just no supply in the market. And there's also significantly higher buyer demand. And that buyer demand is not just everyday consumers because of low interest rates on the mortgage, it's corporate buyers because of low interest rates mortgage. They're looking for homes. We always say that investors want to buy the same homes that the consumer wants to buy. So you have now a net new inflow of all these consumer buyers, and you have what we consider to be the third U.S. migration, people moving from the big metros into the secondary emerging markets into the tertiary markets. And you just kind of follow this path. It's gone from, let's say, New York and Boston to Nashville. And now people in Nashville are getting priced out. They're moving down to Huntsville, Alabama. And so there's this flow, there's a redistribution of wealth, if you may, across the markets. And it's putting a lot of pressure on the realtor community on how do you respond really, really quickly. But the markets are scorching hot. We believe that what happens in these dislocations, exactly opposite of what happened in 2008, is that you start to create new behaviors. And so this has been a massive education opportunity for the entire market on the power of a brand new set of novel financial products to be able to transact on the home. And there's new financial products, new software, new experiences, new education. So we're all leveraging this opportunity in partnership with the agent community to help re-educate the consumer community. And so we do believe that when the market starts to receive some normalcy, you'll start to continue to see that cash becomes a new normal. And more importantly, the guaranteed close becomes a new requirement.
So interesting. Yeah. I do want to take just a minute. One of the key questions that always comes up when we talk about these tools is, are you in my market? So maybe just from a practical perspective, you guys could both mention the markets that you're active in and then talk a little bit about expansion.
Sure. So Tim, you want me to start? I can start.
Sure.
So we are in 5 states today. So we're North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Texas. And typically for products like ours, once we go into a market, we can go statewide. But it's a very considered decision. People think about this being technology and capital, but there's a huge, massive human component to it. So really big on customer service. So really being able to focus on the communities that we do work with is important. But launching new markets it takes some effort, right? The effort is you need to line up your capital partners. You need to be able to understand the valuations of how to value homes, because what we all do is we move all of the things that happen after you go into contract to pre-undergoing contract. So home valuations, buyer underwriting, everything's done up front. So it takes usually between 2 to 4 weeks to set up a new market. And it takes capital, people, and technology to do so. But we're in 5 markets today. We plan to be in about 50% of the US states in about 12 to 18 months. Now that we have the playbooks in place and we understand how this all works really well.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I'll give our specifics and just add maybe a tiny bit of color. But our model, it's very similar. We could do homeward transactions in Alaska today. For us, it's really about focus, and it's about, we don't want to just go do one. We want to be able to do as many as the agents there need and to do them really, really well. And so, every state has its own, and every market has its own nuances, and we're looking at price points. We're looking at market volatility. We're looking at where are the top agent partners that we believe we want to be in business with, among various other economics within title and economics within there's all kinds of like a long tail of things that we look at. But the truth of the matter is we want to know that we can operate and go deep in a market and do it really, really well, and then go do that again, and then go do it again and again and again. And so you'll see a lot of companies like Shables and mine, they'll start in like one market or a couple of markets, and then maybe double that, but then double that again, and then double that again. And so what's going to happen for a lot of real estate agents is none of these solutions maybe none of them are available in your market today, but you're going to blink and they're all going to be available in your market, because it's going to happen it's going to be gradual and then suddenly. And so, for us, we're in 3 states. We're in Colorado and in Georgia and in Texas. And, we definitely have plans to expand, although, we have like the next couple of states that we plan to go into. We're taking it pretty slowly, to be totally frank. It's the goal for us is not how fast and wide can we get. I know it hasn't been for Shavel either. It's about how can we go deep and get this down to where it's a well-oiled machine, because then adding markets becomes kind of an easier afterthought almost. And so I would just encourage you agents to know if we're not in your market yet, or if Ribbon's not in your market yet, and just know that it's going to be gradual and then it's going to be suddenly. It's going to happen very, very fast.
Great. Well, thank you guys both so much. This was, I think, a super helpful discussion, and I'm looking forward to continuing it. And if agents have particular questions, they can follow up either on, with Ribbon or with Homeward, which, if they're in your market, I really encourage you to be looking at them as tools to, expand your business and facilitate transactions. Thank you so much, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, hello, everybody. We're back. That was a great session. Clearly does such a wonderful job. And I misspoke before. There are 3 sessions. This was the first. It's like a trilogy, like Star Wars, except not about space and stuff. It's about financial disruption. But you understand, a trilogy. There'll be 3 of them. This was the first, and there'll be one more in June and then in July. So make sure you check out all of them. What we have coming up now, Katie is going to be moderating a panel with 3 really brilliant Instagram influencers, stars. That's Seth O'Byrne, Farrah Brittany, and Erica Kolika are going to be joining her to talk about how do you spin Instagram gold. But first, it's time for some spring cleaning. We've asked members of the Inman community to share how they're refreshing for spring. If you're like me, you've been doing spring cleaning because your house was basically a flop house for the last year, and there was a lot of work to do. So they're going to talk about how they're refreshing themselves, their lives, their business. Take it away.
Hey Edmondville, Ashley Houseman, broker associate and team leader for the Houseman team with Keller Williams down in sunny Southwest Florida. And although we do many things to help revamp our business during the spring, nothing is quite like a spring cleaning at the office. So whether you have a cubicle or an office at the office or a room at home, or like us, you went and bought a shed this past year, just turn that space into your vision board. Fill it with things that you love, things that excite you, things that motivate you, whether it be things like Disney or music or succulents or candles or whatever it is that makes you happy, puts you in your zone, and gets you ready for work every single day. Fill it with those things. So turn your office into your vision board, and happy spring cleaning.
Hey everybody, we're back with 3 basically really famous people. So number 1, before I even introduce the 3 of you, I want you to open up your phone, audience, and open up Instagram, because there's no point in this unless you actually know who we're talking about. So I'm going to start with my view right here. So Seth, can you give everybody your handle?
Yes, it is at Seth O'Byrne, SETH_OBYRNE.
Awesome. And where do you sell and who do you work for?
I work for Compass and I sell here in San Diego, California. I specialize in the coastline and I do some of Rancho Santa Fe as well. So yeah, I'm basically Central Coastal and North County Coastal San Diego.
Very cool. All right, Farah, your handle and where are you?
Hi guys, I'm at Farah Britt, like Farrah Fawcett, FARRAH BRITT, and I work with an agency, and I mainly specialize in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, but kind of all over as well.
Awesome. Okay, and then Erica.
Hey, I am at Meet Erica, MEETERICA, and I am in downtown Detroit with Max Brook Realtors.
Awesome. Okay, so these three are perfect examples of how to do Instagram correctly for those of you who have not quite figured it out yet. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And also, please, in the chat, if you have questions, I'll be taking a look and, asking those as we come. But we have a workshop with these three great people later on this afternoon. So we'll kind of dive into the nitty gritty then. So if you want to know more about strategy, we'll hit that up later. But first, let's talk about follower count. So I think a lot of people are on the struggle bus. They can't get over 2,500. So Seth is at 62,000 almost. Farah, you're at 408,000 followers. And Erica, what are you at now? Almost.
I'm at 14,000. I'm a baby influencer, but I'm here.
No, that's pretty awesome. And to a lot of people, I don't even honestly know if the follower count means all that much now. I think it's more about the right followers who are following you. So Seth, tell me a little bit, did you have this big, follower count prior to getting into real estate? Just give me a brief synopsis about how is Instagram just taking your business to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I owe a lot to Instagram. I think a lot of us do in the real estate community, certainly a lot of us on this panel. I actually got into real estate in 2004. I got my license, and that was right around the time that Facebook became a company. At that time, you had to have a .edu email address. And so I joined Facebook while I was still a student at USD, University of San Diego, and I was selling real estate through Facebook. In fact, a Facebook ad was the way I did my first transaction 16 years ago. Social media has always been part of it. So when I went into Instagram, I already had a pretty big following on Facebook, and Facebook fan pages were just coming out right when Instagram launched. And then when Instagram was purchased, of course, by Facebook. So I grew it steadily. I stayed at 400 people for a really long time. I think 2 were my dad's account because he had like repeat accounts. So technically had like 398. But I grew it steadily, and primarily through showing interest in other accounts and following other influencers, collaborations on content, and just staying with it. I have a show on HGTV, so that helped us obviously a lot because we have a lot of, we had like 40 million people that saw it last year. But definitely most of those followers came over the last, 7 to 8 years of just slowly building.
And we'll talk about in the workshop later about the engagement, because I think that stumps a lot of people, that you really have to take the time and like be nice to others because you're amazing. But we'll chat about how you do that and set time aside for it, because I know you schedule. Farah, tell me a little bit about your background and how this all came about and your success.
So much like what Seth was saying, I was also an early adopter. It's kind of the generational thing. Was on all the Facebook, MySpace, all of that before, and Instagram, I got onto it kind of at its inception. So that was important. I grew organically, but of course I must mention, as many of you may or may not know, I have appeared on different TV shows, mainly The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, $1 Million Listings. So that certainly also gave me a big advantage in terms of visibility and also contributed a lot to my growth. But even though I had a lot of followers early on, I was actually not incorporating my real estate yet. And I just had a bunch of followers and they were just Instagram handles. I wasn't engaging with them whatsoever. And when I really saw that the shift in Instagram, when people were starting to promote themselves as a brand and promote their businesses, that's when I realized, okay, well, because I'm not engaging with my following at all, there's no meaning there. So I decided to not do a separate real estate account but just start weaving it into my lifestyle and what I was already doing. And when I started doing that, I thought I for sure was going to lose followers because I didn't think people would care about, my property in my neighborhood. It wasn't going to apply to everybody else. But as we see how successful these real estate shows are, people just love real estate. They love the industry. They love everything about it. So when I started incorporating the real estate stuff, that's actually when I saw exponential growth from there.
It's funny that you bring that up, Farah, and I think that will be maybe one of our biggest takeaways from this, because there are so many agents still on the struggle bus wanting their personal and their business account. And personally, I just think it's so like, why? Like, it's so silly. So Erica, give me your handle and tell me, do you have a personal and business? I don't think you do.
Yeah, so I'm at Meet Erica on Instagram, and I have been an early adapter like you guys have. I was on it since the very beginning. That's why I was able to get that handle Meet Erica, which is really great for my personal brand as well as for business. And about, 5 years ago, I started noticing bloggers, starting to like get traction and stuff like that. And I thought, you know what, this would be a great way to gain attention as a real estate agent. And so I just started treating my page as like a blog. And so I would share sort of tips and tricks about the city of Detroit, where to go, the hottest restaurants, the newest, apartment buildings that were coming up or condos. And it's kind of like an inside view of what I do in real estate, along with a highlight on local, businesses and shops and stuff to kind of make it interesting.
Awesome. I think that the majority of our viewers, of our audience, I would assume have an Instagram account. So we don't need to go there in the workshop later on today. If you don't, you should go ahead and do that pretty quickly. I feel sad for you. But I want to talk a little bit more so about, I think, a lot of people who are trying to build their business off of Instagram, which, by the way, Seth, I know you've been in the business 20 plus years, so have I. Back in the day, way back then, the only way for you to promote your business was letters, word of mouth, you're door knocking, you're doing all of these things. You're buying expensive ads in magazines that have just, page after page of homes. Now you can do it all free on Instagram. Not to mention, if your follower count's high enough, you can also be paid for different things of that nature as well. So it's a very interesting new time. So if you haven't adapted yet, you really should. I think the issue with a lot of people is they don't know how much business and how much personal. And Seth, all of you do a great job of that. So I see you sharing your family, Seth, and then work. And talk to me about, how does that come about? Do you schedule that, or is it just natural?
Yeah. So what's interesting is I've been on panels about social media for like almost a decade, right? So like I'm talking to other people about how to use social media is nothing new. What's interesting is when you're on a panel, you're supposed to be like the person that knows it all. And I, like many agents, have a big ego, and I always think that the way I'm doing it is the right way. But the reality is like I made a lot of bumbling mistakes, and I was very stubborn about things. One of the things I was really stubborn about was I thought authenticity had to be wrapped up in this idea that you created the content at that moment, right? Like all the content is fresh in that moment. All the ideas are fresh in that moment. What I realized over the last 2 years of now having 2 children under the age of 3 is, number one, that's not realistic. Number two, especially in the last 24 months, as the market's just gone crazy, you really do run out of time. I'm an early waker. So I wake up at like 5 a.m. or 4:45, sometimes 5:30. And what I'll do usually one day a week is I'll create all the content for the next week. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to post supplemental content that is relevant. I'm out at a house, I'm out at a home inspection, I'm showing a home that's beautiful, and I want to create some reels about it. But what's great is I create about 30 pieces of content per month. They're just standard, stock, and reliable. And I create them in large batches. But I create all my own content. I write all my own ad copies. So, I might use professional photos or professional videos, but I do a lot of user-generated stuff. And as far as the mix, I usually try to make it about 2 times personal and 1 time professional. The reality is like houses are beautiful, but there's lots of places to see beautiful houses on Instagram. That should be an important anchor of an account, but that's not really why people are getting to know you. They're on your account because they're looking for something that's really unique about your voice and your page. And so I try to drill down deep into that. And for me, that's my family. That's like a really big part of my personal brand now. And I try to hammer that stuff in. I think it connects with a lot of other families that are buying and selling real estate. And I also think that it shows a human side of me, which is a very important part in breaking down barriers and making people feel more comfortable about doing business with you.
Awesome. So during the workshop, I'm going to really dig in and ask you, like, how do you do that? Do you make your own spreadsheet? Are you using like Later to post for you? So we'll get into that a little bit more. Also, if you have Instagram open right now, I would like for you all to look at his, I think it's your latest post. I think a lot of people have a hard time with self-promotion and saying like, I'm doing really great. Seth, you did a great job on that most recent post. It's very like authentic, but you're also, I'm a badass. I have sold a lot of real estate. Like,
Yeah.
But you said it in a really nice way. So use that as an example, everybody who's watching. Farah, talk to me a little bit about personal and business. How do you intermix the two, and do you schedule your posts and so on?
So I do pretty much a 50-50 mix. And what I do is I keep a running tab of different content ideas. Anytime I'm inspired or I think of something, I put it in my notes app. And then I don't necessarily employ it right away because I try to keep things relevant to what's going on. But usually I'll find a time later where it makes sense and that it applies, so it can actually be in line with something that's happening in my business at that time. But what I found is when I post my lifestyle stuff and just stuff about myself, my interest, before I thought, oh, this is not professional. Should I be doing that? But that's when I realized that by being authentic, I'm not thinking about somebody converting into a client right then and there. It's about, we're in a business that's a service business. It's about building trust. So if you're likable, someone might follow you. They might like you for all those little weird things that you do that you like. For me, fashion, skincare, beauty, cats, that kind of thing. And they might think of you later on down the road when they've already feel like they know you and that you're a friend to them. So I do think that the lifestyle, your personality is really important to incorporate, and of course the real estate as well. So any kind of balance. But
that's pretty funny because the last thing I thought you were going to say is cats at the end of
I know
all the other cool things you said. Not the cancer.
Everyone who knows me knows I love my cats.
Great. Erica, tell me a little bit about your strategy.
Yeah, so mine is mainly like 80% really lifestyle and just sort of, an insider's look on what I do every day. And the rest it's like a sprinkle of real estate, actually. And it's worked really well for me because I get people engaging maybe over 6 months, a year, and then all of a sudden, bam, they'll say, hey, my sister needs to sell their house. And this is someone that has said, hey, I love your skirt. Where did you get it? Or, oh, that restaurant's open now. How was it? And so these messages go down in my direct messages like every day. I mean, I respond to them immediately too, because, I want to build that relationship. But, I mainly, it's just like a sprinkle of real estate with just really, what I'm doing every day. And I'm brutally honest, like, where was I? Oh, I was at the gynecologist's office. Okay. And I posted my legs in the stirrups. I'm saying this right now. Y'all heard it here first. And my DMs went like off the charts. And I said, it was like 7 a.m. right? And I'm like, it's going to be a great day. Like just making fun of it. And I mean, I thought about, gosh, should I really post this? And I was like, you know what? Screw it. Like, this is what I'm doing. And it was great. So.
Well, we talked a little bit before we went live with all of you in the audience about just being authentic and how important that is. And I don't know if anything's more authentic than a picture of your knees.
No, I'm not saying like,
that's pretty impressive.
I'm a risk taker.
Erica, every bit of me loves you for that, by the way. That is like so, I mean, there's the most daring yet also such a brilliant thing. I wish I could go to a gynecologist to read that post. Probably got a lot of engagement.
What's really funny to me is that a lot of people that are even watching right now just cringed, like their whole body cringed up and they're never going to do it. But on your insights, which we'll talk about more so in the workshop, I know all three of you, I'm sure, look at your insights all the time and say, okay, what post hit the hardest? Like what really works? What doesn't? So that is something that all women should do, right? If you're not going to see the doctor, there's an issue. So it relates to every single woman that is of a certain age that is your follower and like, wow, she's real. So I can share one of the biggest investments of my life with this woman. So what did the insights look on that? Did you get really good engagement from something?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like it went from like real estate agents saying like, oh my gosh, you posted that. I have a big real estate agent following throughout the country. And then people locally, or like people, just regular followers, were just like, LOL, or oh my God, or I hear you, or I had my appointment yesterday, or like mine's coming up, I hate that. Like, and it was just a quick photo, right? It wasn't like TMI, and it was just like, oh God, like this is going to be a great day, right? So, I mean, it created that dialogue, right? Like you want to create content, whether it's video, photos, whatever, that get a response, and that's the goal.
And not to mention that is, and we'll talk about again in the workshop, like the more engagement you have on a post, the better. I also want to touch on, again, workshop, talk about this too, but there's IGTV, there's Reels, there's your regular old posts that you're making. Seth, you've done a really good job, I believe, on IGTV with a series that you had. I don't know if you're going to keep that going, but I found it to be very, very cool. Do you want to talk a little bit about, has that boosted you even more so getting on IGTV and Reels?
Yeah, which series specifically? We have a few you do.
I love the ones, there's a whole series about what is it, like design, like modern, or like it was a different.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I'd love to talk about it. Yeah, so that's a particular series that we created. It's an 8-video series where we went into our stagers warehouse and we actually created, using drywall and 2x4s, we created 3 walls for a room. And me and my partner Mia explained the backstory behind mid-century modern design, Art Deco, what we call Hollywood glam, which is kind of like amped up, like gold and leather and stuff that like, so kind of an amped up look. And essentially, farmhouse chic, all that stuff, coastal, California coastal. And so the whole idea was, it was a promotion to show off all the things that we could do to somebody's house when they listed with us. We work for Compass. So obviously we have Compass Concierge, which helps fund the costs of doing this. So it was a great way for us to kind of create all this advertising. What was really cool about it was essentially we went in there and we shot videos. And not only did we go through the history of the design, like for mid-century modern, we talked about like what happened after World War II and why the colors were used and the materials came from Scandinavia and why wood was heavily used. And we actually showed historic footage of early mid-century modern, talked about the names of the architects and the early designers. And then we showed exactly how we would create a room and how you could do it on your own. So, having a show on HGTV, we watched a lot of HGTV, my partner Mia and I, and what we realized really quickly was people need bite-sized content on an ongoing basis that keeps them kind of engaged about real estate. And so this about 18 months ago, when we were, very slow in the business, and then of course, then it really slowed down going into COVID. Because for us, the end of 2019, that winter was kind of slow, and then it went into COVID and really slowed down. I said, hey, we only have so many houses that we have in escrow. I want to focus on really giving a design aesthetic to our page and educating people about things that they can use. Because one of the differences that I think between those who use social media well and those who are struggling is like your followers are not your customers. Your followers are following you because they're looking to be enriched by content. And so I find that I love following Becky Owens and Architectural Digest and Dwell Magazine's pages because I love design and I love looking at design. So we started creating content about 12 months ago that's really like design forward, and it's been really, really good for our brand.
It's nice too. I mean, if you guys get over, and we'll talk about how you get to IGTV and Reels, but hopefully you can figure that out between now and this afternoon, because it's pretty simple. Farah, we're going to wrap up pretty soon, but I want to talk to you real quickly. None of the 3 of you, nor any good agent on social, I believe, gets on there and posts a video that's like, hey, I'm really good at selling real estate and I really need your referral. So please call me immediately. I need to put shoes on my kids' feet. Like, that's gross, right? So you provide value and you do a great job of that, Farah. So, and I love that you say you open your notes app and you put ideas along the way. So how do you provide value through social?
Well, I actually listen to my audience. When I made that shift towards a more real estate focus and incorporating that in, actually found that a lot of my audience were other real estate agents, a lot of aspiring real estate agents, mostly women, people wanting to get into the business. And they started asking me, how do you do this? What's the best way to get started? How do you schedule your day? All these kinds of things. So I was like, okay, these are learning pieces that I can help these agents. And so I would create little, Q&As. I'd post the answers. I'd ask people, what questions do you have? These things. And when I would repost these things, they don't get that many likes necessarily, but if I get, 10 women saying, oh my God, this was so helpful, thank you so much, or I just signed up for my real estate classes, that's great. And what the other important piece is, even if it doesn't get that many likes, again, who cares? Because people who are following me, it is also about perception. So if somebody's following me and they're constantly seeing that I'm providing wisdom, that I'm teaching other agents how to do these things, or how does, what's the best way to stage a house, get a property ready for sale, then eventually my followers are just going to keep having the perception like, oh, she's super active, she's, she's working in the business, she's busy and all these things. So it's kind of several layers that work together and provide value both to who I'm speaking to, but also that's how I eventually started converting to leads.
I think later on during the workshop, we'll really hit up the insights feature, because I think a lot of people don't really dive into that a little bit. So you can really see like when is the best time to post for my audience, like who is really watching, and what works the best. And I will have some fun with that. So prepare yourselves. And then the three of you think about some cool, like really detailed things maybe you've learned lately, because it's changing constantly. So I would love to share that a little bit. Like, do you film on TikTok for Reels? My daughter's 14. She told me that's how they look really cool. So I'm going to ask you all that. Like, are you filming over here for all the cool wizardry and then pushing it to Instagram Reels? I don't know. So we'll chat with you about that. That's coming up. I thank the three of you very, very much. For now, I will be back right after these messages with David Marine, and we're going to talk a little bit about shiny object syndrome and what you do need to buy, what you don't need to buy, and everything in between. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
I know. I don't want to move either, kid.
I guess this is it. Hello? Hey, new neighbor. Bye, Dad.
Hi, I'm Heather Scott, and it's time to get my car ready for the spring market. I've given it a quick clean, and now I'm gonna get stocked up. Wipes, can't go anywhere without your wipes. Sanitizer, masks, just in case somebody forgets one. We've got lots of business cards that we're going to be handing out. Bug spray when you're in the country. And the most important part, sold stickers for all those sold signs we're gonna put up. Have a great spring market. Get your car stocked and ready to go. You'll be awesome.
Hi, everyone, and I want to welcome David to the stage. David, welcome. How are you?
Oh, very well. Thank you, Katie. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So, you and I don't know each other personally, but I have been in the business about 20 years. So I've seen like the whole gamut of tech like come at me from left and right, and the magic pill, and this is going to solve my problems and, make all this rich, and it's great. But it's really hard to decipher, especially in 2021, what really works best for an agent and how I can tell, or how agents can tell, is this piece of technology really going to benefit me and help me grow my business? So give me your thoughts on that. What should an agent be looking for when it comes to tech?
Yeah, it's a lot harder now with the amount of choices. You would think like, oh, there's so many choices. It's now I've got the opportunity to find that perfect thing. But really what I've found is that agents need to ask questions of themselves to find out what is it that they need. Will this help me make more money? Will this help me sell more listings? Will it make me more productive? Will it make me more efficient? And then ultimately, and possibly even more importantly, is will this improve my life? Will this alleviate some burdens? Will it simplify things for me? And those are the questions you got to ask of your existing tech as well as when you're looking at something new. Because oftentimes when we're wanting to make a change in technology, it may not be those things that come to mind. It's because like, I'm just tired of using this system, or, oh, someone else is saying that's a really, really nice tool. And I think I should check that out. But really set those questions in your own mind of why am I making this change? And how is it going to benefit me? That's something that we found at Coldwell Banker is really critical in any approach that we do with our products. Is it will it help our agents live exceptional lives through them being more productive, making more money, selling more listings? So agents should be asking themselves those questions as well.
It's interesting too, because you see so many times a broker will adopt some sort of new technology, and then the adoption rate for the agents as a whole is so incredibly low because of what you brought up too. Sometimes it's so convoluted and difficult, and we're busy people. Like, we're doing a lot of different things at once. So talk to me about, like, if you have one agent at a broker over here and they're interviewing, they're kind of going around talking to some other competitors, what should they be asking those brokers about their technology platforms?
Well, you should be asking how they're measuring the performance of those systems, those tech. And agents should be looking at their own technology and how it's performing now and setting those benchmarks. I mean, it can be painful to try and do those measurements, but it's so critical, because then that's how you know if your investment is worth it and if a change is necessary or not. So you really want to say, like, how are you measuring the performance of this technology? Is it helping agents sell more listings? Is it making them more money? Are they more productive from that? And a great example that we possibly our best technology product that we've come out with is a product called Listing Concierge that came from the feedback of our agents that we heard that, you know what, property marketing has just become so laborious and it's painful and I got to do it. And it's the same thing over and over. I don't know if I'm doing it right or not. And that was the impetus for creating Listing Concierge. And we have a mantra that we create products with agents, not for agents. And so getting their feedback, what are their pain points? How do they want to see this used? And being able to measure that is what's made Listing Concierge so successful. And we're able to track that those that use it are seeing a higher average sales price. They're seeing an increase in productivity. And before listings were just flying off the shelves, we were seeing that listings were selling closer and above asking price for those that were using Listing Concierge versus not. So it's those types of metrics that you want to have in place and find out from whether it's a vendor or another brokerage or another company, how are they tracking and seeing that performance for their own agents and whether that can apply to what you need for your business.
And I know we're not here to talk about, your tech specifically, but even though I just said I've been doing this for 20 years and there's just so much and I'm so inundated with all of it, I'm also obsessed with it. And I like to hear about it because I think there's new things that are not duplicates of what everyone else has done that really need to stand out. So if you are willing, can you tell me what Listing Concierge actually is? Because it sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's basically a soup to nuts what our agents need in order to market their property more effectively. And they have different options and packages that they can choose from photography to 360 video tours to direct mail pieces and social assets and all that. It basically simplifies the entire property marketing process. So that you say, I've got a new listing, it's ready to go, I'm signed up for Listing Concierge, and they take it from there. They even have the ability to add on additional media elements where they want to promote it on social or through other mechanisms. And it basically just simplifies that entire process. And what has been really incredible is the fact that it doesn't matter what spectrum in the real estate process you are. You're a new agent or you're an expert agent. You're at the high end of the luxury market or you're middle of the road in the suburban market. All agents across all those different sides are seeing the value of it. That's also kind of the beauty in when you're looking at tech, what is the scale of who's using that tech? How many agents are using it? How many different types of agents? If it's only being marketed to this one type of agent in a very specific market, how does that match up to yours? So through Coldwell Banker, we have the luxury of 100,000 people across our network that we can see how that can scale and work effectively across markets, price points, and even agent experience.
I've seen a little bit of this from some of my friends who work with you, and it looks really very, very cool. And I've also seen. I want to take our 15 minutes to chat about some things that don't work too, because I've seen some
Sure.
really crazy pieces of tech, things that are just duplicates of what other companies have done, and it's just kind of crazy. So, can you have any advice for that? Like, what do you think are the most popular pieces of technology or the most valuable to an agent? Like right now in 2021, after coming out of a year from a pandemic, like what do you think really helps right now?
Well, the question can even be raised, especially now, is do you even need technology in a hot market like this one? It's listings are flying off the shelves. Like I can just abandon everything that I've been using, and because everything is working so great. And I think really now the smarter agents are the ones who are going to take this time to really assess what is working and what's not, so they're prepared for if and when, and let's hope it never does, the market changes and it's not quite as hot as it is now. We also recently did a survey of agents across the industry, and we saw that 91% rated in the highest priority of what they want from their brokerage or company is best-in-class services and tools. So we know that that's still an overarching need that everybody has to have. So the question, though, is very personal as well to you as your independent business owner. What is your specific market? What's your price point? What's your customers? So therefore, there isn't a perfect answer for this is the one tool that's going to meet every agent's need. But sadly, that's often how a lot of the tech products are positioned. So you've got to really go in and say, this is what I know that I need this tech to do. I want to use it that's going to help me to get more listings, or to, you know what, I don't want more listings. I want to increase my average sales price or be more efficient with the listings that I have. Finding those answers and bringing those forward when you're starting to look into what tech offerings are out there, even if it's an off-the-shelf product or if it's with your brokerage, those are the answers that you're going to want to get in order to make the right decisions. But it really is, the options are endless out there from tech. So you've got to know what you're specifically looking for that's going to help move the needle for your business.
You bring up a good point. I always talk to agents about, who is your audience? Like, who is your ideal client? Like, tell me what they look like. And then, all of your marketing is just kind of pushed towards that audience because it's attractive and it brings them to you like a magnet. And you bring up a really good point with the tech too. It's like, what is your, what's your audience? What are your needs when it comes to technology? Because what may help, an agent who is, at $1 million average price point, or someone who's working with first time buyers, around 250 or 300. And it's incredibly different. And the other thing, and I think that you all are doing a really good job of this, and I think a lot of maybe smaller brokers or larger too, they have a suite of services they put together, and they wanted it to be really simple, and they wanted it to be all in one place. And then they went somewhere and they got this and they got this, and now it's just there's 18 different websites, and they've tried to make one web page, and it's just a freaking nightmare. So do you think that the sexiness of a product, like a platform, is important to agents? Like, does it help them, use it more, honestly?
Yeah, it depends on your definition of sexiness, I think and it's to each his own is what I've learned. But the real question is, am I looking at this, is the sexiness of this app and the attractiveness of it just from a simple, like, everybody's using it or everybody's talking about it, or it looks really good. And we all love, myself included, something that looks fantastic and is super simple to use. However, that's going to grow old, and that veneer is going to come right off that when you're 2 months in and it's not doing what you want it to do. It's not producing the results of it. So there's got to be that balance. The idea of simplicity of something of design and effectiveness is going to be attractive, and that's going to get you in the door, and it's the reason why you're interested in that specific product. But then you got to really dig a little bit deeper. Like, first 2 dates, sure, it looks great, but then you got to get in and say, like, all right, really, is this someone that I think I can get along with, that I can spend long term with? And that is the same with technologies too, not to create a marriage between man and technology, because my wife would say that I'm already married to my tech. She likes to take my phone away from me. But you got to balance that of what is the attractiveness of that specific tech, along with what is the effectiveness in the long-term impact that it's going to have, versus it just looks great and everybody else is using it.
And I think it's important too. It's like, what is the saying? Like putting a lipstick on a pig. Like, sometimes I have found a lot of tech that has a lot of lipstick on it, and then you drill in and it doesn't work. Like, it literally does not work at all. And I feel sad because I'm sure the teams behind it had great intentions, but they released it a little too early, or they haven't tested it enough. And it's irritating as an agent when you pay for that and maybe you're in a year contract and it's broken.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, I've been experiencing that firsthand too. There are products that we thought were great and had the best intentions, and it was, oh, wait a second, what we thought was an unmet need really wasn't, or it wasn't as critical. And so I think that's the balance of getting feedback from agents when developing tech or even working with a vendor. What is their feedback cycle? What is their NPS score? How are they getting stuff back? Do they have focus groups? How do they help develop it? And there's got to be a balance there between what I'm hearing that is the people are feeling they need versus what they actually need. And so the beauty of this is that you can always tie it back to what is the ROI? What is the metric that you're looking to move the needle on? And if your tech options or your brokerage or your brand are able to do that, then you will be able to see, hey, they're saying that this is going to help me in this area, and I can now see if it's really doing that or not. And then it moves from what is a shiny object to what is something that is really going to make an impact on my business.
I really liked what you said too. And I think a good takeaway, if someone is interviewing, even different brokers or just tech platforms independently, and you're purchasing those, really asking those questions and not being embarrassed to ask them, like, show me the success rates you have at your brokerage, or show me, Mr. CEO of tech company, like, how has this improved? And tell me your clients. Can I call some different people to like get their feedback on it? Do you have any more recommendations when it comes to that, on either how do you measure yourself, if the return on your investment for that technology, or other questions people can ask before they dive in?
Yeah, and it's even if the answer that you get back is like, you know what, we really don't have that metric, that would be a red flag. But they also have the opportunity to be like, but you know what, we would love to have you help us in showcasing whether it's valuable or not. And then that's a company, product, whatever, that is invested in their customer success and is open to that input. And that's something that at Caldwell we're trying to make a part of every single product that we do, is what is that regular feedback that we're getting that we can take and say, here's the feedback, but here's the metrics that we're seeing as well. Is it off balance? Is it a communication issue? Is it a value? And sometimes you find that there are products like we thought the valuable part was going to be this one aspect, but people really love this other side too. And that's all part and parcel to this. But what I would encourage any agent today in their business is really start putting benchmarks in place for how what you're using today is helping and making an impact in selling your listings, average sales price, productivity, whatever it might be. Because once you have that, then anywhere you go, and you can be able to then have that litmus test to say, yes, this can help move the needle of that, or what they're seeing across the board from their 50,000 agents that are using this product are able to show that it can help move the needle on my side as well.
That's awesome. David, I always like to find someone's bio on their company's website before I talk to them via Zoom. And yours was very fun. And it says that you're a storyteller and you've been with Coldwell Banker since 2002. And I know you love to tell their story. And I think you're really, really great at it. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us here today and give some tips to the audience. Is there anything you want to wrap up with?
Well, thank you so much, Katie. I mean, it's great that we're able to talk virtually and to meet you in this manner, but I've stalked you online as well, and very impressed with what you've been able to do through your career as well. But thank you so much. I always enjoy a good story, and hopefully some of that story today was shared here with this audience. But thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David. I appreciate it. How was that, Joe? Have you enjoyed it so far?
You're always great. This has been a terrific general session. You did a great job with the panel and then with David Marine. You had a lot to do the last hour. You were really busy. So well done. Well done.
I'm a busy person all the time. Before we go, because we're going to break out into our fun later on this afternoon, but I want to comment on your shirt, Joe, because all of you don't know that Joe has a little closet over to the left of your screen that holds that shirt that you're looking at, and a fancy jacket.
Yeah, it's a fancy jacket. This is my Zoom shirt. That's not, by the way, a closet. That is a chair. That's a chair where the shirt and the coat drape on, because I am wearing pants and I am wearing shoes. So I did observe a certain amount of decorum for today. But that's it. And I occasionally mix the shirt up, but I only have it on I'll be taking it off in about 5 minutes. So it doesn't get a lot of wear. But luckily, what we've got coming up is we got coming up events where I'll have to bring multiple shirts, right? I mean, I got to bring more than one shirt to Vegas.
Thank you. That was a good lead up for me. So before Vegas, before we chat about that, I want to tell you about next month. We've got our big event. It's the 3-day Inman Connect Now event from June 15th to the 17th. Great lineup of speakers. So it's a full 3-day event. It's like the real thing, but virtual. So still get to wear your jams. You still get to wear your blue shirt. You don't have to bring more than one shirt to this event. Just one will do. So speakers, we've got Carl Liebert from KW. We've got Robert Refkin from Compass, Eric Wu from Open Door. So a really outstanding lineup. Brad will be there, the whole crew. You can get your tickets because they're on sale already at inman.com/events. But earlier today, Joe told you we were giving away a ticket to Connect in Vegas, and I am pretty pumped about it. So are you ready to do that now, Joe?
Yeah, let's give it away Vegas style, Katie.
All right, without further ado, my friends, and we've been practicing this and we're ready. Yeah. All right, without further ado, it's time to select our winner for a free ticket to Inman Connect Las Vegas.
Oh,
there it is.
It's the ball's rolling. It's rolling. No whammies, no whammies. Let's see who got the winning. All right, ready. I think we have a winner. And here it is in the front of the Bellagio. Joshua Lavardera wins a free ticket to Inman Connect Las Vegas, which will be October 26th to 28th this year. You got to make sure you pack a couple of shirts and like real pants and shoes and things like that. And congratulations to them. The rest of you, make sure you go into your calendar right now and put in October 26th, 28th, open a window for Expedia, and start working on that ticket and that hotel room. And of course, go to Inman Connect to buy your ticket. Now, also, we have 2 more tickets to give away. There's 2 more tickets that are going to people who are going to be watching Inman Connect today. The way you qualify for that, you don't have to put your name in anywhere, but you do have to attend all the afternoon workshops, which start in about a few minutes and then go till about 5 o'clock. You attend all of them, they will know that you're there, and everybody that goes to all of them will be registered to win 2 more tickets to Inman Connect Las Vegas, which is very exciting.
That is awesome. It's like your MCE credit. Like you don't get it unless you're there for the whole
That's
time.
right. You got to be there the whole time. It's exactly like continuing ed credit. But like continuing ed credit, what the hell is that? This is a free ticket to Inman Connect in Vegas. This is much better than credit in a continuing ed. Also, you can go buy tickets for Las Vegas. They're on sale now for select members. Katie, you're a select member, Inman Select, right?
Of course I am.
It's a great deal. It's the industry's best news and intelligence source. It gives you a lot of exclusive perks and discounts for these events and things like that. Go to inman.com to sign up for Select. In the meantime, attend all the afternoon breakouts. There's a lot of great breakouts coming up, including yours, where you'll be doing a deeper dive into the Instagram influencer stuff, which I think everybody's looking forward to. You did such a nice job with the moderation on the panel today. So go to the sessions, get a chance for that free ticket for Connect in Las Vegas. And of course, June 15th to June 17th is the last Inman Connect that'll be virtual that you can watch from your living room without wearing pants. So both of those great opportunities. 1 June, pantless. 1 October, make sure you wear your pants. Don't get those 2 things confused.
Hey, Brad always says you can be as casual or as formal as you want. I think pants are optional, maybe. I don't know.
Pants may be optional. I think he means you can wear a bolo tie. I don't think he means you walk around.
Okay, my bad.
Free swinging at in the Aria Hotel. That's not.
We're going off the rails now. We just said free swinging and talked about a gynecologist appointment earlier. So I think we should wrap. What do you think?
I think we've done our job here.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe. It was so fun having you here. I had a great time, and we'll be back shortly with some really great workshops, and we will see you in June, and then of course in Vegas. Thanks, everybody.
Always a pleasure, Katie. Thank you.